What would you say?
I was just saying the fall color.
Okay, thank you.
I love the lights.
That's great.
I know.
Okay, we're good to go. We're green.
We're green, okay.
This ain't the green room, we're green.
I make a motion to open the meeting.
A second.
Okay, trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, the meeting's open. This is not really a formal meeting, just for the record, this is a workshop that we try to hold maybe once a month or so to just really sort of drill down on topics that we know take quite a bit of time and to kind of just discuss things in a more casual fashion. So with that being said, is there any conflict of interest or anything to disclose regarding the items to be discussed?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none. Okay, anybody online?
No.
Okay, well, for the record, just the open meeting lines, just.
If anybody joins us,
Yeah.
if they wish to speak to the board, please provide your name and address. If you're online, raise your hand or put it into the Q&A. And let's have a nice quick meeting.
And also, because it is a workshop, it is at the discretion of the board whether or not we choose to even take comments. I think this is
Yeah.
really just kind of a very casual discussion of things. So first up is a review of historical signage reference materials. This is pursuant to a discussion that we've had on just looking at our signage code. And, you know, we've done some updates already, and we're looking now at the possibility of incorporating other aspects of signage into our code. And I believe trustee Coe was interested in, and I think it's a great idea to kind of look at what was the past like in our community, you know, with signage and all of that. So we do have some photographs here. They're also in the packet. We have, look at this. Look at the horse with a little blanket. No, I'm gonna hold this up.
Bakery.
Wow, and there's some on the back too here. Just how, you know, the articulation of signage along the storefronts. Oh, this is interesting, because this is now where Collier's Cafe is,
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah,
just to kind of give you guys a
Oh, yeah.
perspective.
right.
Yeah, so I think it is a nice idea to kind of see, you know, what the references are in the past. You know, for all of this, this is so interesting, and you know.
And it's interesting how many awnings there used to be.
Exactly.
We don't have awnings anymore.
I know, and just, it reflects sort of, you know, the character and just, you know, that you're in seasons, and if it's hot, you put your awning down so
Right,
the
right.
sun doesn't come in, and, you know, all of that.
And you're right, I like the dimension.
Yeah.
Multi-dimensional.
There's far more articulation.
Instead of flat.
And we want to thank also our historian, Vicki Prophet, for providing us with all of these wonderful photographs that are part of the archives. I call it our little mini Smithsonian over there. Let's see what else is along here. Okay, so this, oh yeah.
Which one's the bakery? What's this right now? Is this?
Okay, so let's see where we are with the horse. Let me just.
Oh, this is.
Oh, yeah, that's
Main
Main Street.
Street.
So that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Parker Building.
This is Main
So
Street.
that's where Chandeliers was, and they have the awning and then.
Okay.
Okay.
You
So
see
that's
where we
the-
are?
Okay, so this is
We're
pre.
showing different eras,
Yeah.
you know? And then it became Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Department Store where
Yep.
we used to buy our gym suits. And then I think it's very interesting as well that she included the original build out of Pittsburgh Plaza.
Yeah.
Which actually is really charming, you know, like there's some character, and she wanted to show, I think, that there were little hanging signs, you know, as you would walk
Right.
down the arcade along the mall, you know, the covered arcade. Really interesting, and also even the articulation of the roof lines of all the different structures, which are essentially gone. Plus I love looking at the old, you know, I don't know, I think it sort of speaks to the past, excuse me, and you know, just the fact that it's, you're right, it gives more articulation, engages you differently along the streetscape.
Mayor, is this the little house? And there used to be a bakery here? Does it say bakery?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was originally, I think that the original use of the little house, which is now historic Pittsburgh's, it was across the street in the location where Messrs Carpets is. And then that site was taken over by the federal government, and that's where Messrs Carpets, where that building, where it's located now, was the post office.
Wow.
So everybody said, you can't take down the little house. That's where the first lawyer in Monroe County
Mhm.
lived. And, that was a bakery and there was all this history to this little tiny house. So they made a deal to move it across the street from where it is today to save the property. So the
Wow.
post office can be built and now it's Messner's Carpets to this day. And
Was
then
that land,
that's Collier's Cafe.
Yeah, yeah.
was that land donated?
Yeah,
by-
what it is, it's rented for like $3 a year, from the property owner, and that was, I think it was originally the Bolgers, might have been, no, not back in the seventies, I don't remember who owned that.
Yeah,
But it's always sort of continued on, whoever
Yeah,
has
okay.
purchased the property, recognizes the fact that it's for the public good to have the little house there, on little postage stamp bit of the property.
what I like about this is we have multiple timeframes. And
Yeah.
multiple perpendicular signs that are presented.
Yeah,
The bakery one, why we, could see that. The one with, this happens to be the Burdette or Pittsburgh department store, but both on the near side here,
mhm.
right, with the one hanging.
Yeah,
That's on the, real estate building.
yeah, that's on the Phoenix building, and what you're seeing there, that structure
Mhm.
was added on, it was originally, if you look at some of the older ones for the Phoenix building. Here, you can see that there was a wraparound porch along the front. And then, then it was enclosed because it was, a, German restaurant, it was the old Heidelberg or something, and they had, German bands and singing waiters, and, yeah. So it was
Wow.
quite the thing. And it was a number of different, it was like an inn, there were a number of different owners.
There's a little picture on one of them here.
German band?
Yeah, that's the inside.
That's the inside of it.
Really?
Yeah, see yeah, that's a very famous postcard.
Yeah, you're getting.
Yeah,
coffee,
where you
but
see
that's
the,
that-
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you can see it on the edge of the sign.
But there's quite a few of these perpendicular signs.
Yes.
That are out.
So does anybody know why we got rid of that? Like, what was the rationale? Or do we know when we changed the sign code?
I think a lot of it is like, why did they tear down neighborhoods and put in giant beltways and expressways? In other words, I think we're looking at sort of frames of reference of different eras, different times, different styles. We're modernizing, we're streamlining, it becomes.
Avoiding the car. more
Yeah,
pedestrians,
and so
yeah.
I think, I don't know that we need to sort of overthink it as much as like.
Let's just revisit it.
Yeah, let's revisit, okay, that happened.
Mhm.
I think we have an opportunity, to kind of harken back to, something that just is, I think it has a lot more charm,
I agree.
frankly.
I agree.
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
I know it's sort of a, what's charm, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think it just reflects a different type of character. Within, I love these old cars.
I think this is one of those opportunities with signage anyway, where you lean in on a little bit of flexibility to create a little bit more engaging streets.
Yeah.
Opportunities for businesses, but
Yeah.
also to, I think, lean in on, in this case, the HPB, making sure that whatever's brought forward is appropriate.
Mhm.
And.
And also with our code enforcement, just because if you have an awning, it has to have certain clearance,
Right, right.
there's other components that would kick
Right.
in.
Yep, so we'll have like the dimensions and other
Mhm.
various aspects of it. We could require material, I mean, we can get as specific as we want to.
Mhm.
I don't think we need to.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can look at, and maybe what really coming out of this, you guys, is we could take a look internally and do the research on other codes that enable this,
Mhm.
because there's no such thing as plagiarism in government.
Right.
And really take a look at that, and obviously our attorney, I think, would have some ideas on that as well. And perhaps Steve will too, because I know he was interested in researching this for us as well, so, oh yeah, there's.
I mean, the one thing that comes to mind is, and we could probably find this out when we look at some of the other codes, is the difference between like a material awning or a metal awning.
Oh, yeah,
what-
maybe we don't want metal,
Yeah,
maybe
we'll have
we
to
only
kind of look
want,
at
yeah.
that, see
Oh,
what we want
totally.
to do, because I
Yeah.
think materials might be.
It would be
significant.
materials requirements,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure.
And then how much signage can one business have?
Mhm.
Like, can they have it on the building? Can they have it on the awning? Can they have it on the
Yeah.
outside?
Mhm.
That's also something we
Mhm.
could look at.
And, it's
We already
interesting,
have.
because you have this here, and then you see on the side,
Mhm.
this for departments.
Mhm.
Can we have a sign here? Yes, but we don't have it that big,
Mhm.
we can have,
Yeah.
if you're a corner building, we can't,
But
but.
HCA just went through this
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yes,
with,
I know. I-
Whipple round.
Yep.
And it makes sense,
Yep.
right?
I
Because
zoomed
it's
in
up
on
the side of the
that. Yep.
building and.
Mhm. Of
Yeah.
course, so, Yeah, and it's interesting, they have an awning on this side, because this really was a little alleyway here. I mean, it's interesting,
Do
and,
we have money?
oh, no, we don't, I mean, I think they're not even allowed. I'm not even sure if they're allowed.
Well, if there, if
That's
that
why we're
falls
like,
under,
let's take a look at
yeah,
what
does
we
that fall
have.
under signage? Because I
No.
know that it's.
No, it's, you're adding a design element to a building.
Right.
You know, you're adding an element. So Dorothea, can you put that down as an action item for us?
Just.
I knew you were doing that. Okay, yeah, so let's do our internal research. We'll bring it back to you guys, you know. And I'm excited about it. I think it'll be kind of cool. You know what's really great though, when we look at these pictures, we can still identify places.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's,
You know,
Yeah,
that's true.
even though there's changes, there's
That's
some
true.
adaptations and
Yes.
things,
Mhm.
you know, it's just really kind of a great way to just make that.
Smaller and see Woolworths.
Yeah.
I know.
I know, Woolworths, we used to go down to
What's the
Woolworths.
big one right there? What is that?
That was the National, that was a big
National.
department store,
Oh.
and it had clothes, it's mostly clothing, it's a clothing store. I think I got my dress for the first day as a
National.
national grade.
We're staying on signage, we'll just throw the materials conversation back. You know, sometimes the materials that we can use, you know, in housing may not be historic. I'm thinking like hardy board, or there's a lot of people, for example, with Adirondack chairs now, they're all plastic, like you drive through Amish. country,
Recycled material,
right?
yeah.
You drive through Amish country and instead of wood Adirondack chairs, it's now all that plastic.
Like the
stuff,
resin.
Like resin or whatever it is, I don't know. And I just, from the standpoint of walking around, being relatively close to the material, it would be hard for me to think that that's appropriate
Mhm.
and have it be more wood, metal.
Oh, yeah, I think that's
traditional.
something that we would look at, and I know, for example, I'm even thinking, because we had the pictures of Chatham, you know,
Mhm.
on the Cape. I'm gonna look at their code, because they do not allow metal awnings, they're only canvas, and any lettering, you know, and the drop on the awning is at a certain size, even if there's a sign or that's
Right.
perpendicular on the building, they're all scaled.
Yeah, and I'm
You
thinking
know?
with the signs too, like a lot of the sign companies are gonna make the plasticky type material. And I don't know where I stand on that being what starts to
Right.
hang in front of all the buildings.
And we'll take a look at our existing code and what's allowed. I mean, I do know, for example, the sign that was approved the other night by the HPV was made out of cedar,
Yeah,
you
Mhm.
know?
That's okay.
I mean,
Which
yeah,
is great.
which
Doesn't
is
have to get out.
beautiful.
The only thing is, we're probably gonna get the same pushback we've got with the whole materials issue on houses about the maintenance, right?
That's
They
the,
make
that's
it,
the-
they got painted and the whole thing.
And there's another component too about the availability of lumber relative to cost
Mhm.
and using things that are recycled,
Mhm.
you know, that what's sustainable.
Right.
So I think that's something we're gonna end up really circling back on, and what does that really look like, you know?
With signage though, I mean, as we see through these pictures,
Mhm.
any sign that you make that is longstanding, the business is more often rolling out
Mhm.
decades, you know, so
Mhm.
you make a sign that's forever
Mhm.
with recyclable material, but I'd almost rather have a wooden sign that, you know, 10, 15 years from now, you're not gonna need it
Well,
anyway.
that's what materials are approved now, because there's signs up now and lettering up now that are not wood.
What's the village signs? Or entryway?
Those are not wood.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Those
maybe
are
I'm,
composite,
Yeah.
but they're painted out,
Yeah.
you know, they're
Yeah.
painted out, so.
Interesting.
so maybe
Yeah.
I'm out in left field on that one. It's just the proximity of the pedestrian to the sign, and maybe.
Take a look at what's there,
Yeah.
you know, and I think you're bringing up a good point. You know what's so interesting, they're looking back at the plaza. So, okay, so if you go past Woolworths here, this was J.C. Penney's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and now it's for like, what is it, TJ Maxx? is
Right,
there?
yeah.
I know.
And Ulta just
I
moved in
know.
there.
I know. Oh, that's right, Alta's in there.
They just moved in. I
Yeah,
really like the way that they were framed out. like
Isn't that
It was just
great?
So pedestrian friendly, right?
I know, it really is. It just, it was, and I can remember, I don't know if I remember when it first opened, I was probably too little, but I can remember it was a big deal.
I'm sure.
Because this was all
sure.
farmland. This was all farmland, all that whole part where you see Pittsburgh Colony
Mhm.
Plaza, and I think this was farmland, and they turned it into like a golf, you know, where you go and practice your swing or whatever.
Driving range.
Yeah, the driving
Oh.
range. Yeah, and I don't remember that. I remember my dad telling me about that.
Yeah.
And then it's, you know, and this was one of the first shopping malls ever built in the United States.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Outdoor shopping malls, wow.
yeah.
before they went inside, right?
Mhm.
So our goal with this plan, or what we're getting next, is gonna be examples of code of different
Yeah,
locations.
and looking at materials and what that looks
And
like.
looking at kind of what that's led to.
Yep.
And if we like it or not.
Yeah, so that's the action item coming
Okay.
out of this one, you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For both signage and awnings.
Yeah, yeah, signage, awnings, and I'm glad we're looking at this. I think that, it's a
Yeah.
good thing to revisit, so.
Okay.
Okay, next up, the Arboretum.
Yeah. All right, so I've got handouts. I didn't get them to you in time for the packet. I don't know if when we post the packet, we might want to post this
I
with.
did, I put it on as a handout
Oh, perfect.
online.
Yeah, I'll pass that down. That's what I was gonna do. So the question, there's a lot of things going on at the same time with the Arboretum right now. We're planning a charrette at some point. We don't have any dates yet, but the idea is to get something in late January, hopefully early February, where the village comes together to hear residents' input as to what a short-term, intermediate term, possibly long-term plans for the Arboretum will be. And we have, of course, a citizens-led group, the Friends of the Arboretum, that I'm the liaison to, that have over the last 2 or 3 years, since the Arboretum's come around 4 years. Geez, we're going on 4 years now.
Mhm.
Where the Arboretum's been there. They've done a lot of really great work in the meadow and helping with invasives, and looking at the recent installation of the frog ponds that was through the frog house group,
Oh, the vernal ponds.
the vernal
Yeah.
ponds. But it's been, I remember the meadow, the Arboretum first started, the meadow was just overtaken with weeds. These citizens group, Friends of the Arboretum went out there and just persistently weeded. And there was, some extension, I think, of understanding that they could, do weeding projects, but, beyond a certain threshold, we didn't really want to extend really too much authority. But as time went on, there was a degree of trust in terms of what they were doing. There was things that we didn't want them to do, like build or design new walkways and pathways. And we knew we didn't have a master plan, so that's in the cards. And I think in the end, what we want is we want a village board led comprehensive or master plan on a more intermediate term basis where we want to go. We also want to understand there's things between now and 5 years that citizens led groups can easily do without the village board approving every single thing along the way, right? But I don't know, in crafting that agreement, where those different thresholds lie.
Mhm.
So what I've done in front of us today in the handout is just, in this case, 25 random things that were sort of brainstormed, put down with the idea of saying, we should probably talk about these things. Do we want it included in a memorandum of engagement or a formal agreement? Or do we want to exclude it? Do we want to the degree that we do include it, how much flexibility do we want to extend versus how much do we want to retain? And then by doing this, we actually control exactly what we want to extend to them. And it can be very flexible. It can be very structured. The goal is, I think, to empower residents as much as we can, but have it be in accordance with what not just us or the group, but the community at large wants to accomplish with regards to that land. So what I've done here is just put down all these things, bunch of brainstorms, and we can maybe go through it on a topic by topic. We don't have to go through like line by line, but the idea would be to arrive at a list of things that they could do without needing to come to us.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yep.
I think there's great clarity on that, for
Perfect.
sure. So
Okay.
thank you, and thanks for putting all of this together. I will say right up front, an action item, Dorothea, is going to be to forward this information to our DPW and also to our building and code enforcement, so they can take a look at this as well.
Yep.
Because this is all part of within their purview, because it's our land. And I think too, it's, understanding what the mission is of any of these outside entities that want to be engaged, like we need clarity of what their mission is.
Mhm.
and also what our intention is for how we, are stewards of this land.
100%.
So I think that's always the starting point. How do you know what you're gonna do until you know your mission?
What's
Right.
interesting
So-
about this, and this is in the meetings with the board, with the Friends of the Arboretum, I've said, don't form your 501c3 with your formal charter yet. Prepare it.
Mhm.
If we're gonna have an agreement with you, we want to review it. We want to make sure all the provisions for membership, all the
Mhm.
provisions for leadership, what that transition looks like. Because if we're going to extend any authority to a 501c3, we want to be sure that there's embedded in that charter, there are elements of it that we require for
Yeah.
them to have.
It also is gonna be forwarded to our attorney.
Yep.
Because of the very nature of if we are ceding
Mhm.
some type of authority, and I think that may be a little sticky.
Yeah, so we wouldn't
Okay.
cede anything. We would.
But what
extend.
that, okay, extend, see, I think that's where we need our attorney to really help us with that.
Yep.
And what that would really look like,
Yep.
beyond
So
anything
basically
else.
what you need is, it's almost like a job application, you're gonna wanna see what their qualifications are, the criteria. They
Mhm.
meet certain criteria for the village before they can work in the area.
Yeah, I mean, some
For
of that's
sure.
gonna come down to insurances too, and are they?
Yeah, really basic stuff,
Right.
there's an administrative component to this,
And so that first paragraph, just
Mhm.
before we even get into the
Mhm.
specific items, I said the village board is interested in working with residents, resident groups to further the goals as expressly stated in our Arboretum master plan, in development, community strategy, TBD, and assisted
Mhm.
stewardship. Then discussion of roles and responsibilities that the village board could extend to the Friends of the Arboretum should certain milestones and approvals be met. Approvals being things like the 501c3, the approval of the charter, and the agreement, insurance review, et cetera. And, Mary just added DPW CEO input. So the first thing, I just thought maybe I would go through a few of these things and see where we generally stand, because what I'd like to do is by the time we get some sort of agreement in place, right, or we get some sort of relationship in place that everybody is comfortable with, it'd be nice to not have to start then the list of all the things that we might like to have them do. Let's just start that now, because I think we're moving down this path.
Well, I think if I just want to hear this, these are things that would need to be done regardless of who is going to be doing them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
just so we're not assigning anything to anybody yet. We just know this is, and some of this stuff we've already even started
That's
on,
right.
so.
Yep.
To me, this is like the giant to-do list.
Right,
And do we divide it up?
it's a giant.
and that's why TPW really needs to be involved.
Yeah, that's
because
why
we're doing a lot of this.
We need input, we need input from, all parties involved, and
Yes,
particularly, because it's our land.
It
So,
would be nice to, so maybe just hit up a few of these topics. Let's see how it goes for, 5 of them or something today. So one of the action items would be the invasive species removal and remediation, right? We talked about that. We've already started it. We've
Mhm.
funded it. So one of the questions is do we want to, I want to be careful of the word seed, but basically it's almost like contractually permit
or partner with,
or partner
how about
with.
partnering? I
Well,
like partner.
Partner's okay. Part of the challenge of the word partner is it implies something keeps coming back to the board.
It should, it's our land.
Well, it is.
I have no
okay.
problem with that.
How much, so the follow-up question to that is, we could partner with them for weeding, but we could let them weed without coming back to the board.
But that's, we've already done that on a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
And even before you came on the board. In other words, yeah, you guys, sounds great. Let us know at Village Hall when you're going in,
Mhm.
which they've done,
Mhm.
that kind of thing, of course, yeah.
Yep, so I
Yeah,
think what
I
I'm trying to
think
get
it's
to is
fairly
the level of autonomy
Mhm,
that one might put in an agreement,
mhm,
and it may be species specific. It
Mhm.
may be type specific, so it could be manual versus mechanical, for example. Can they use implements or not? And if the answer is not, then it's just manual, right? Can they apply to herbicides? If not, then we kick that out, right? So what we're doing is,
There's already a lot of answers to these, yeah.
yeah, and so there may be answers,
Mhm.
but they should be embedded in any sort of formal
Understood.
agreement,
Mhm.
right? But I don't know where the board
Mhm.
stands on this, and I don't know how much authority we might want to permit without them coming back to the board each time to do it.
Mhm.
So whether herbicide applications are allowed and under what supervision?
Typically with herbicides, there's training and certification for it.
Mhm.
And, the DPW can really speak to that as well, and
Mhm.
also PRISM.
Yeah, I think
With them
that's something
through-
you wouldn't want to allow. outside.
Yeah, that,
So I think,
Yeah.
Because there's posting requirements, there's a lot of
There-
things.
and that's,
Yep.
yeah, like when we had, the tree specialist go in
Mhm.
for the Atlantis. They're certified, they're licensed.
Yep.
They did the application, they cordoned off the area and they managed it for that application.
sure.
That's pretty much, I think, where we're going. I think that's already kind of a move point, we don't want anybody going in and even, yes, is Roundup, residentially, commercially available. I'm just
Oh, yeah.
picking Roundup because it's a brand, it doesn't mean that we would enable or allow anyone to go in and use it.
Mhm.
I think that is something we would want to definitely keep under our purview.
So would we
Because of
want,
the consequences sometimes of misapplications and, in fact, the greatest source of groundwater pollution in the entire nation is with residents inappropriately applying herbicides and pesticides on their properties.
yeah,
So, I
so
think
I
that's
agree with you, we
very,
should retain it.
yeah. I
The
think
question is whether or not we might extend it to DPW approval. See, it wouldn't necessarily be Steve, or it would have to come to us.
It would be DPW and not Steve. Steve would be involved from the aspect of public safety, and also he is our stormwater consultant with the Stormwater Coalition, and you are always concerned about proper application relative to groundwater
Mhm.
and runoff, and we do have wetlands there that potentially could be compromised. So, and also now there's vernal pond, there's other, it's a wildlife sanctuary as well. So, again, we have, I think really where we are is pretty basic stuff. Let's have, our staff take a look at this, and they can already start to give us feedback pretty
Right, answer
quickly.
questions, see
Yeah, and
what,
answer some questions on this
Mhm.
and, pull together other resources as needed for us.
One of the things though that we just
Mhm.
did that isn't in this document by
Mhm.
itself, that is the useful part of just walking through it, topic by topic, is, for example, with herbicides, I think it may be where they could fundraise for invasive species remediation, right? They could potentially coordinate with the DPW and contract possibly providers previously approved by the village board, and coordinate with the DPW, where the DPW or Steve reviews certifications and ensures compliance, where it doesn't have to come back to the board every time. Because here's the thing about fundraising.
Mhm.
If through your charter or your agreement,
Mhm.
you extend enough authority that empowers the action to be done without it going back to the board, you're more likely to gather the money to get it done. And what I'm trying here, I don't want to
Yeah.
give up that authority. What I want to
Mhm.
do is make sure that it's in the right hands at the right point.
At some point, if it's fundraising though, it has to come back to the board for us to be able to accept the funds from a
Yeah.
legal standpoint. And because if we do accept it, then we have an obligation for fiscal oversight as well.
I'm
And-
envisioning this. Go
But,
ahead.
no, but I mean, I get where you're going on that. I'm not saying being negative about it. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
yay, so to me, it's like, great. Like look what happened to vernal ponds. Sounds great. Let us know when you have the money,
Mhm.
thank you. That's what this isn't like every meeting and we're dragging it out, They
Right.
came back and said, hey, we got the fundraising, we can do all 3 ponds,
Mhm.
Yay. I mean, I don't think, I don't think we have to go down a big rabbit hole with this, I think groups want to help, they organize, they raise the funds and say, this is what we'd like to do in support of, in this instance, removal of invasive species. And we'll say, great, now we can put the funding towards the proper, certified people who can come in. We've identified all the areas. They can rope it off and do it. Yeah.
I think I would just say there's 2 types though, because the vernal ponds actually, we accepted the gift, but they funded and paid for it themselves.
Yes.
Which was great, because we wouldn't have had to put it out to
Mhm.
bid and do all the things. But then there's the case where someone gives us money and then we have to go and take that money and spend it towards that.
So I like the first
Right.
one better than the second.
I like the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah,
better,
that's
too.
where I'm going.
Yeah,
That's where I'm
It
going.
depends also, there should be, I don't wanna say a flag on the cliff. If it's something where we are concerned with who's being contracted to do the service and making sure that they have all those things that we have the purview to go in and look at, making sure they're certified for.
We always do because it's our land.
Correct.
Here's the other piece of this though, and it reminds me almost, okay, bear with me. Because we have, the scouts that always come to us with like all these different projects and, or, hey, we need a project. And so I'm thinking we make a list. We come up with and have identified, we can work with all of our, wonderful friends and neighbors here, but these are the following projects. We want to remove the invasives over across the meadow here. We want to do this over here. We want to put in this over here, which will be driven by the public charrette.
Mhm.
And also even if we never had a charrette, proper stewardship of the land should always be to manage and reduce and remediate invasives if we're going to be stewards of that land. So I think it's almost like we're lining up one scout project after another. Because this is all going to be projects. It's project driven. That's where I'm going.
So my thought is,
And I'm talking specifically about invasives, because just this one section,
Mhm.
we are looking at probably the next 20 to 25 years of everybody's life, okay?
Yeah,
Because the Seneca Zoo Society, when they did their cataloging in there, we have 70% invasive species.
so I think the project idea or how you're referencing it works. I do want to have though, with regards to a relationship with the Friends of the Arboretum, give to them the ability to approve projects that fit underneath XYZ umbrella up to some threshold, right? So call it group A, group B, and group C. Group B and C are things that we retain, and group A, we extend out. That might be things as simple as signage, weeding, or path maintenance, not design and new paths. And
Anything maintenance I could see, anything maintenance I could see.
Yeah.
For sure. In terms of, where signs go or things like that, again, I think we should be involved, that kind of thing. It's not that we don't want signs, but
We're involved in signs and everything else.
yeah, because again, I see the role of these groups wonderfully in support of the stewardship of this land, and they're stakeholders, we're stakeholders, and every other resident is a stakeholder. So, I guess even if it all comes back to the board, it's minimal stuff. I mean, because the whole idea is we'll have it on there. That's what the charrette will be.
so I think you're a little tighter in the design than what I'm sort of thinking here,
I'm seeing, okay.
which is we create a master plan in the
Mhm.
community. We engage with regards to things that we want.
Mhm.
And then up to certain thresholds for the things that we want, we extend enough authority that they don't have to come back for approval on every project.
I'm never saying no to that.
Once we've decided on the project,
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing differently, that's all.
Okay.
right? Once we've
like-
decided. on the
like-
project.
How would they even remotely know what to do
Mhm.
with our land if they don't get direction, at least initially from us based on community input? That's all.
So I
We're
think,
saying the same thing.
okay,
I just think, I don't think we need to overthink it. I think it's really a series of essentially projects. This is a big deal.
Mhm.
This is
Agreed.
it's not a huge piece of land, but for us, it's big.
It's big and it's significant,
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
so, and the underpinning, frankly, of everything that's gonna happen over there, at least initially, it's all about invasive species.
Mhm.
Because you cannot take out an invasive plant and just leave it, because another invasive will fill the space. So it's invasives followed by immediate remediation and planting of natives.
so this goes to
That's
the
a
next section.
big freaking deal.
Yeah, so this is great. So what we're doing here is we're working through the conversation of what authority
Mhm.
how much do we, build on this relationship?
No, but I just want to finish my thoughts. So now we say, okay, we've identified this area. This is the next big sector to work on to remove these invasives. And let's all, based on our charrette, let's plant the following natives because they're in a deep shade area or they're, it's a meadow area, whatever it is. So then now these wonderful groups have, oh, okay, this is where they're gonna come in and the proper people, licensed people are gonna remove it. Then we're gonna come in, maybe it's with the scouts or with other community organizations. And we'll immediately follow and either do the suppression, additional suppression in the area, which is again, a very straightforward kind of project. I've done it over 50 years. And followed up with the next wave of the group coming in. Oh, we've already selected all the natives. It's already in the design that's been laid out with the community. We're gonna plant now the redbuds and the dogwoods and, all of the other kinds of natives, the asters coming in the fall. So they'll already know what to do. They don't have to keep coming back to the board.
My question to you, when we work on the plan in January, right, in February, is how specific with regards to species are we going to get if a citizen group raises money or does all the work for some?
I want to know what plants are going in there, because if we're spending our time and taxpayer money to eradicate invasives, I think that's something that we have people that are knowledgeable, come to the board, I mean, and just say, these are the natives. We have, people on our climate smart community, committee that have incredible background as well, that are willing to have input, and maybe,
So what
that
I'm
can be
hearing,
just a non,
Yeah.
I just don't want anything going in like, oh, I love these, let's put it in.
sure,
You
sure.
know,
So what I'm
Look at the
hearing,
list.
let's be deliberate, because it's not just like what looks pretty, it's also, we need to support habitats, because it's also a wildlife sanctuary. So what supports the birds and the fox and, all the little species that are in there? And I think we need to be deliberate and reach out to resources. One of them was initially the Seneca Zoo Society, which is extraordinary, and they would love to help us with this. This is right down their alley. I don't know how much you know about them, but they do habitat restoration globally.
Wow.
They are world famous. They have a major habitat restoration project they have worked on for over 30 years in Madagascar, and have preserved some of the most unique habitats on the planet.
Yeah.
They're all over the world with different habitats, yeah. And so this for them is like the fun, oh yeah, we can do this. So they could really help us sort out what it looks like for different areas of our arboretum to have plant life that will support habitats and properly anchor soil and all of that as well.
So you have a different skill set than I do.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know these things.
Yeah.
Well, all I know is it native, is it not?
Mhm.
And if something's not native, you gotta replace it. And
That's a good start though,
Right,
Dave.
good
Thank
start.
you.
so, but what it also means is, I don't know how many members of the board have that same understanding,
Mhm.
right?
So you get resource people in, that's
So
what
you
you
bring
do.
in resources with your extend authority, one of the two. So this just gets into that section
Mm-hmm.
two, and I think where you prefer, not that we would necessarily differ here, but the idea of native planting and habitat restoration.
Mhm.
So does the group, in this case, the Friends of the Arboretum, who have a dedicated mission just to the Arboretum to support our master plan,
Mhm.
do they get to have the ability to select native trees, shrubs, and perennials?
I think that everybody has the ability to have input, but I think, again, I would go with, resource people within our region. I mean, we have the Finger Lakes Land Trust, we have, Prism, these, they're here for, as resources to our municipality.
Completely.
And work with Friends of the Arboretum. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
don't see
could be
anybody,
for them.
this isn't about leaving people out, this is about including people and getting the best possible outcome.
Agreed.
That's all this is.
Yep. So what I'm hearing in terms of selection, it'd be more input on, right?
Why not?
Control over planting schedules and restoration schedules.
Mhm.
I'm okay exceeding that authority as long as they're planning and doing the things that we want to accomplish and it's part of the plan. I don't need to get involved. I don't think the village board needs to get
I think
involved.
they've already done that in other areas in terms of they've been given permission to plant certain trees at certain times. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
I don't see this as anything.
great.
mean-
Adoption of a site-wide planting plan. I mean, this is something where.
That's
when-
derivative from the charrette and
That's right.
working with resource
That's right. So
entities.
we
Mhm.
create the plan and then they can come up with a site-wide planting plan.
Perfect, there, and they can, well, they will implement the plan that has been created.
Or even for approval, meaning they could come up with a
Well,
plan.
anybody can come, we could have a whole other
That's right.
group of residents show up and say, hey, could we do a fern shade garden? We love that, and
Yep.
these are natives, this is what we, okay.
Yep.
I mean, why not, work with everybody?
Again,
Mhm.
I'm simply trying to empower people.
Yeah.
And so in this case, the significant extended authority comment would be the Arboretum may implement native plantings consistent with the master plan and submit for annual planting schedules. Less significant, all planting decisions, species selection, and restoration locations remain under the short. I actually think what we're seeing here is that you can probably have both. Where we create the master plan.
I think this says it. I think it's
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
What else?
So tree health and care, that's pretty straightforward. I mean, the trees are already in, so I think in that case, you can extend as much authority.
Yeah, we are working with a really great arborist already in our village.
Yeah. But if the
Yeah.
Friends of the Arboretum wants to hire an arborist to do certain work on trees that we're not funding, and they want to get something done, do we extend to them the authority to determine what might be pruned or cleared?
No,
Okay, good definitive.
no. No, because it's our land, it's our trees. We already have a solid tree management program implemented village-wide with all of our street trees. I see no difference with our arboretum
Mhm.
to have a specialist come in. They identify a problem, that's when they do need to come to, like if it's an unsafe tree, let DPW know and,
Yep.
Steve, our building person, or because it's a public safety issue or they see a tree rotting. And also it's very different when you're managing forestry like that. You may want to leave a dead tree there because it provides habitats for different types of species, such as woodpeckers, or, the tree fall, let the tree fall and then rot and becomes another type of habitat. So that's all a different type of management as opposed to our street trees. That is definitely something we want to have review of.
So Dave, can I ask a question? Do the friends feel that the arborists that we have in the village is not serving them
Oh,
or?
I totally made this up.
Oh, okay, because I'm like, because if we already have one, why?
Yeah, we have a great
Right,
arborist.
right,
Yeah.
Oh, so
Alright.
this is me throwing down a lot of
Okay.
things.
Yeah, no,
where-
this is good because this is giving,
Clarification, yeah.
clarification and
Okay.
stuff and who does,
Right.
all of that. That's why, again, it's important for, DPW to look at this and our safety officer as well.
But I think in creating the master intermediate short-term plan, whatever it is that we're
Mhm.
creating here in January, February, I think one of the things that we can consistently do is add addendums. And one of those addendums could be a pruning and, tree healthcare like schedule or maintenance. Right. And embedded in that could be some goals and targets
Mhm.
that should they want to undertake that particular project, provided it's coordinated with the DPW.
That'll be to be arranged. Again, you're looking at a different type of forestry management over there, so it's not about pruning everything.
Mhm.
It's about nature running its course. Like we just had high winds go through there, some branches are down. You may want to leave them, but you clear them for trails and obviously for people to enjoy the arboretum. Certain areas, you just want to leave it where it is because that's nature.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, so this
You know,
goes to if the
It's
comp
about
plan,
forestry management. It's a very different level, and it's not necessarily about any one entity other than a certified arborist or someone who understands that type of forestry management, saying, ooh, yeah, we definitely need to take that tree out or prune, but
Yeah.
the pruning thing is not as big a deal as you think. To me, it's more about, can we keep paths clear? And that's something I think that'd be wonderful for
Yeah, so,
our group
okay,
to help us
perfect.
with,
So very minor
Yeah.
pruning and branch clearing, and it could be for
Path.
trail and.
Trails,
maybe.
yeah, just, anything that's sort of impeding, people coming through to enjoy the arboretum. Anything after that is really on us in terms of our arborist helping and supporting a overall forestry management program, which frankly is not a big deal. You're looking at it, maybe if we end up getting, the lanternfly in there, then that becomes, a pest control issue. Those are things that are so far beyond our purview, the purview of any of these wonderful organizations helping us. That's when you get the big guns in to
Yeah.
help us out.
So I almost think that these two
Mhm.
lines can be mutually tied together in some
Mhm.
way too, where it's saying, the group is authorized to monitor tree health and perform minor pruning. We could insert a little line there, or major arborist interventions. and-
Minor pruning and branch clearing of trails.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Only to clear trails, really. It's only about clearing trails, And frankly, DPW zips up there and they go up periodically.
If we can get people.
No, I understand that, but in other words, no one's flapping in the breeze up there. There's always a level of some kind of oversight from our village. They're up there at least every week, and Steve does walkthroughs as
Yep.
well, so. Are the paths clear, that kind of thing. He's cleared branches out.
And obviously, it is to the extent that they're even there. I mean, they may not see it for a week or two if they're not out there doing work, so it's not, so it's fine. So ecosystem monitoring, I mean, these are things that if somebody wants to do independently on our
Mhm.
behalf and provide insight to the.
We
village
have
board.
this already. The Seneca Zoo Society performed a complete, and we can send the report. That's an action item if we can
Yeah,
have
sure.
Laura get that out of the archives. Where they identified and inventoried the area. That was, I believe, my first year.
So what would that be about? 2021?
Yeah, 21, I think they did it. Maybe 21, 22. I'm not sure which year they did it.
So this
Yeah.
goes on and on, right?
Mhm.
And it's a whole lot of different topics like this, where we should kind of work through where the board as a majority would like to go in
Mhm.
terms of what type of extension
Mhm.
we would want to give it. And I think what I'm hearing today too is the comprehensive plan, not the comprehensive plan, the master plan, the more specific it gets,
Mhm.
the more we can extend some independence,
Mhm.
the more open-ended it is. What I'm hearing, particularly, Mayor, from you, is that the more open-ended it is, the more that we want that project to come back, almost, not every time,
Mhm.
but more
More
often.
often, yeah.
And so what I would hope to do in this charrette as we work our way into next year is have a plan that is specific enough
Mhm.
and potentially empowers us or others to present ways to add
Understood.
addendums.
You made it clear. I agree. I
Okay.
think you're like, no, I don't know how to be more supportive of what you've done. I think you've done really great work and you've really, you've identified a number of different categories that I think will be very helpful even for the charrette.
Exactly.
Kind of given us,
Yeah.
an extremely in-depth
Mhm.
and detailed outline of things, which I think is great. And, some of this I'm looking through and I'm like, I already know where that's going, that
Yeah.
kind of thing, but,
And what I'm also going to do,
Mhm.
just so that you guys
Yeah.
know, is I'm gonna extend this out to the Friends of the Arboretum and say, to what degree do you have any interest in this as well? Because there may be a few things that I put a little brainstorm down and I say, okay, let's extend that authority.
Mhm.
They don't want anything to do with it.
why don't we do it, if I can make a suggestion, why don't we take a look at it internally first, as we were saying, like, let's have DPW take a look and
Sure.
Steve and, that kind of thing. And they may be able to sort of help us refine before we float it back out
Mhm.
to, FOA or any other group that's interested, just so we're not like, well, actually, no, we're not gonna do that. Oh, actually, let's work on it a little bit more internally, I think. Won't take that much. I mean, I think they can go right through,
Mhm.
and turn it around pretty quickly, certainly,
Yeah.
well before we do a charrette.
What would be great to know, particularly from the DPW, is to what degree do any of these items would they find concern if an independent party did?
That's what they're gonna look
And
at.
then we,
That's exactly where they're going.
and then we'll do that
They're
as
very
well.
clear about,
Yeah.
what they do, so.
I also
Exactly.
thought things like signage, right?
Mhm.
Do we want to approve that?
Yeah.
Does Steve want to approve it if it holds our sign code? Does it go to the HPV? Do we waive it? Anyway, so that's a thought.
Signage, I think we always need to take a look at signage. I do. I think we always need to take a look at signage in something like this.
Yeah, I mean,
do.
either we
You
do
don't
it or
need
the HPV.
signs, I mean, first of all, it's not that big.
Well, I think that's where you develop your charrette signage plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a signage plan and you decide,
I don't think it's sort of like, hey, we need to sign here, okay, bring it back to us, wait a second, we've already got 5 signs over here,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think.
but that's also the type of thing that you could put in the plan, right? We draft the plan, we adopt it, and what it says is.
That's what it should be,
sign
that's what a
code-
charrette master plan is.
But it could say sign code to be determined, addendum attached,
Mhm.
and then until new signs go in, that's gotta be filled.
Absolutely.
Okay, pavilions and structures was another one. This was number 12, where
Mhm.
Steve, one of the things that I would say is nothing, they should not be able to undertake any activity that requires a, site plan or approval. If they want to put a bench here and there, fine. But if they're gonna start, drilling holes in the ground, putting cement in the ground and trying to attach a bench to it, we should probably.
That's all derivative from a public charrette,
Yeah.
what people want,
That's right.
you know, and again, it's also derivative of what the mission is
Mhm.
of establishing an arboretum and a wildlife sanctuary.
Mhm.
So again, we have no answers to these questions
Mhm.
until we really make sure everybody's clear about the mission.
But again, these are the things that I think everybody
100%. No, it's
should
good.
talk about.
Yep.
And if in the end, the public charrette, people want to put
Mm-hmm.
a pavilion in the middle of the field and that's where we're going, then I think in this case, they should have to come back and get approval for what that looks like. But
Nothing's gonna be built in there without our approval, period.
That's right.
Nothing.
so keeping in mind, every single item here was
Mhm.
done with the idea of not knowing an answer.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's great
Right.
because it triggers
It's structure, and so, yeah.
And then the other thing, in terms of signage,
Mm-hmm.
we definitely should have a sign put up, no electrified vehicle, no,
Oh, sure.
motorized, excuse me,
Mhm.
vehicles at all. Unless, they're authorized, like if DPW has to go up there and clean
Right.
something out or,
Right.
just already with the freaking e-bikes and,
Well, I gotta-
they're all over.
I'll get an email from a resident on the e-bikes being completely outlawed in some
No,
town
I
somewhere.
didn't see
I
that.
didn't see that.
Yeah.
You forward?
Yeah,
How about? can you-
Upset about it?
we're basically just saying, hey, we should do this.
We should do this or should?
Basically get rid of them.
Oh, okay.
For
Okay.
anybody under the.
You know
age
what,
of
can you
16.
forward it to Dorothea, and that way you can just discuss first, yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
that would be great. Great,
Okay, good.
yeah, no, thanks really.
Yeah,
for
that's
this.
great, Dave. That was a
Oh,
lot of work,
great, yeah.
but it will help us, as we
Yeah.
move forward.
It'll frame
Dave, you
everything.
sent this to Xavier?
I did, yep. Basically a big work in progress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, just so I can reach out to the past.
Okay,
great, thanks,
Perfect.
okay, yeah.
Just checking for next week with availability for the bill pay.
Oh,
I do.
what day's the bill pay?
Wednesday. Yeah, it's the day
Okay.
before Thanksgiving, Wednesday the
I-
20.
gone.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm not here,
I'm here.
I'll
Skip
reach
Dave
out
and
to
John.
Dave and John.
Okay.
it'll be quick, you just need to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
just
at
need-
noon, right? That's
Yeah,
fine.
just,
Okay.
here's
Thank
the
you.
bills, okay.
Okay,
Well, I could be here, so, but you got me.
okay, so we need two more.
Two more.
Need two more.
Two more.
All right, anything else that would just administratively for us? We're good. I make a motion to close the meeting.
A second.
Okay, trustee Co,
Hi.
trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Hi.
Trustee Hutchins, thank you.
Thank
you.
you. That was
This
good.
was a good discussion.
That was a
Thank
very
you
good
much,
discussion.
Really.
Yeah, that was
Good.
perfect.